Hello, I'm Tonia Pyle, having a conversation today with Arturo Revelo, attorney Arturo Revelo, and candidate for the 34th seat, judicial seat. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The 34th judicial seat.
Yes.
So now that makes 3 running for that specific seat.
Correct.
Corey Woodward, Tiffany Organ Bowles, and
myself,
yourself.
yes.
And so you jumped into the pot there, and
No, technically I actually started it.
oh, you started it.
Yes.
You started the things going.
Miss
Tell me about that.
Yeah, Miss Bowles was running against David Wolf, and
Now, what seat is he running for?
he's I think 30.
The 20?
Or
Oh,
20.
30.
20.
22?
20.
Or,
It's,
okay.
it's the seat that is left by Judge Lewis,
Okay.
and she wasn't getting any tracks on her campaign. And it appeared to be a done deal that Wolf was going to win. And then early this year, I filed papers against Woodward, who was up for re-election, and that got this thing started.
I see.
So that I created the
contest.
yes.
The contest.
Yeah.
Okay. To challenge the incumbent.
To unseat Judge Woodward. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Any particular reason why you wanted to do that, or?
I think it's a multitude of reasons.
Okay.
Number one, I wanted to be a judge.
Okay.
I was considering submitting an application to the.
But you can be a judge up and down throughout the county, so. Or
and
the
most
state,
people,
the state.
well, yes, that's also true. And what happens generally is that someone retires or they leave before the conclusion of the term.
But there must be a reason why you wanted to upseat someone.
Well, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's very right.
Okay.
Yes. The reason that I wanted to unseat him, and he's the person that I'm running against, is because he became an embarrassment to the county. And traditionally, in Kern County, judges who got in trouble, they sort of went into the background, hoping that nobody was going to do anything about it. And people get in trouble for all kinds of reasons.
Okay.
You can get in trouble because you made a judicial mistake. You thought you were doing something that was right and ended up being something that caused the commission, the judicial performance, to issue a warning to you. Sometimes it's private, sometimes it's not. Hopefully trying to keep judges in check.
Okay.
But this was different. This is
Okay.
not a judge making a mistake.
Okay.
This is a judge that actually did all kinds of things that you wouldn't think a judge would do.
Okay.
They came down on him finally after many complaints, after he had attempted to stop a court officer to do her duties, and he admitted culpability at that point, but he had been lying for close to 2 years. He created a classic example of a hostile work environment. The commission issued a statement referring to his sexual conduct inside chambers, where another employee of the court had to literally use earphones so that she couldn't hear what he was doing behind closed doors. He lied to the supervisors. So it became an embarrassment. And this is, again, nothing short of an intentional, repeated effort to undermine the authority of the court. And since no one else wanted to do anything about it, somebody had to do it, and I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now you have a very interesting background. You're from El Salvador.
Yes.
And this, you know, when somebody tells me they're from El Salvador, immediately, you know, you think, oh, gee, there's been such a torn country. And but you were 19 years old when you fled because of the Civil War, and so was it difficult to flee your country when it was in civil war?
Yes. I'm not trying to be too picky about wording, but I truly didn't want to leave.
Okay.
I think that the experience of most foreigners that come to the U.S., I was actually fighting Civil War over there, and I got wounded, so I almost lost my leg.
Oh, thank goodness you didn't.
Yeah, and I spent two weeks in a coma. Then, I did the little flying into the light thing, and that's kind of creepy.
Oh.
Survived that.
The white light?
Yeah, I mean, I was flying over this field of wheat towards the light.
Oh.
I remember a vivid memory of that, and then something pulling me into a tunnel, and I wanted to continue flying, and then pull me back in. People talk about their near-death experiences, and that was mine. They told me they were going to cut my leg. They told me I was never going to walk again. I was never going to run. And then when I was able to walk with crutches, my family brought me to the States, trying to save my life. It was a very traumatic part of my life. I go from a law student, which I was in second year law school over there.
Okay.
And
at 19?
At 19, and then I went from there to
now your father,
washing dishes.
Your father, oh, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
Good experience.
But you were probably excited to be in a new place, whether you were...
I was scared, lonely, sad. Yeah.
Your father was a respected judge and law professor at the National University of El Salvador. Your mother also attended law school there.
Yes.
And
we went together. In fact, my father was teaching, my mother was getting her degree, and I was also a student. So at one point there were three of us at the same school, which was kind of cool.
That is cool. Very cool. Yeah. Sure, they must have been very proud of you. Of course.
Yes, but my father wanted me to be an engineer, and if I had done that, I would have not got into much trouble, I guess. As much as I did as an attorney and as a candidate now for.
How do you feel you got into trouble as an attorney that you wouldn't have gotten into had you been an engineer?
Well, I think that engineers the laws of physics don't change much, math doesn't change much. Attorneys have to improvise.
Unless it's Common Core. Oh, sorry. That's
well, what is it?
I haven't seen that. Let's not go there.
No,
that's a little joke because they talk about that.
Yes, I have seen some of the jokes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm told that they're accurate. No, but when I announced that I was going to run for judge, most people thought I was going to be running for one of the empty seats. When I mentioned to a friend of mine who's a DA, she said to me, "Arturo, that's dangerous." But it was the right thing to do. I think that the fact that I announced that I was going to run for that made it easier for Tiffany to be able to join into the race.
It was a bold move.
Yes, I think so.
And you felt you had a strong conviction about it, and but
Absolutely.
You also, it says you're a small business owner.
Yes.
What's your business?
Well, I wish I could say that I'm a writer. I'm trying to.
Well, you are a writer. You're a prolific writer, by the way. Okay, we'll go from the small business to the writings because what is ZIA Protocols?
Well,
ZIA.
After September 11, when I was in the National Guard at the time, I called my unit after that, and I told them that if they deployed any units from our Guard battalion, I was going to be very upset if I was not one of them. So they did activate us, and I went in and I bought everything that I could find about the Taliban, about Islamic fundamentalism, terrorism in general. And one of the books that I found was something called Charlie Wilson's War or something like that. It's a big, thick book that talks about a congressman from Texas that was instrumental in getting a lot of these weapons to the Afghan rebels in the 1980s. And reading the book, one of the main characters, in my opinion, of that conflict was Zia, the president of Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
And I was reading this book, and I was,
Okay.
it was so sad actually to see how the Pakistanis were getting involved with this thing, because they had this great conviction that they needed to get the Soviet army out of Afghanistan. And knowing, as you see by the progression of the historical events, that he was a man that knew he was going to get killed at the end. He knew he had to know. And he didn't care about his life. He cared about what was going to happen to Afghanistan and to Pakistan, but which are interconnected. So I wrote the book thinking of that, and the Zia Protocols is about these kids that living in Washington, going to school, and one of them creates this machine that is able to translate these recordings from this specific group of scientists working in Afghanistan, and what they were trying to do was build a nuclear bomb. They were going to, in fact, create nuclear mines in order to protect Afghanistan. They get caught into the war after September 11, and they escape, and they come to the U.S. And among us, they build these nuclear bombs. And nobody knows about it until then. And then there's an effort to try to find where these guys are. So it gets really convoluted at some point, and I thought it was a great idea, and that was that. That became 3 books: the Zia Protocols, the
Dead Man at the End of Forever.
Those are detective stories.
Oh.
The Castaneda File was the second book, and the third book is the Vega Riddle. They all somehow become involved with the history of Kern County. The Dead Man at the End of Forever is a detective stories, it's about a guy who they find dead in Tehachapi, and then they trying to find out who did this, and that was I created a character named Richard Tessa.
But is it based on something you were familiar with, or you were just being creative and writing a story?
I wrote 30 books.
30?
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot more.
Still waiting for an agent to come in and rescue me from anonymity. But, they say that you write about what you love, and I love Kern County. You lived in San Francisco like I did.
No, I didn't live in San Francisco.
Oh, you did not?
No, I worked for Pillsbury Madison. So you were with Pillsbury Madison Citro, and I said that was our commonality. Correct. But I was actually at Lillick and McCoe's, and then
where?
In Los Angeles, and so then Pillsbury Madison Citro merged.
So you're a refugee like me.
I guess.
I spent 22.
But not quite.
Well, I spent 22 years in San Francisco. And then I came to Kern County, and this became my home.
But then you went to Idaho.
I was in Iowa in 1982, I believe.
You went from San Francisco to Idaho,
I went from Iowa.
Oh, Iowa, excuse me.
Idaho is the potato.
You're right.
Corn and cornmeal and pigs, that's Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So I went to San Francisco, spent 2 years there. Then I went to Iowa. From Iowa, I went to Illinois. That's where my first daughter was born. And then I came back to California in December, and I arrived in December 21st in Indio, Riverside County, I think.
Okay.
And then I came back to San Francisco. Yeah.
Oh, and
So altogether 22 years, and then I came here after September 11 in January of 2002.
Okay. So you've been with you said you were with the Army Reserve. You were a translator in Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. And your English is fluent. So this is wonderful. I always admire people who can speak multiple languages.
It wasn't by choice.
Okay.
It was a necessity. Of course, I had to learn English when I came to the U.S.
Yes.
Italian, I picked up because I love movies and music.
And that was a necessity.
A necessity. You listen to things and you have to pick it up.
Yeah, that's
Portuguese was sort of an accident.
Okay.
I call it a linguistic accident.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, okay. But that's related.
Yes.
That's related.
Oh, yes.
And actually, the Italian is somewhat related.
Absolutely.
Well,
You go.
But English is
Yes.
quite a
Oh
different
God,
animal.
English is a nightmare.
Yes.
For Roman languages
Yes.
speakers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I love to. I used to teach English as a second language, so it was always fun to let them know that it was going to be painful.
Well, I'm always glad that people can laugh at my pain.
Of course. So you went to San Francisco School of Law, and you were part of the Progressive Foundation.
No, Progress Foundation.
Progress Foundation.
Yes, we dealt with mental health patients. I was a counselor in mental health there.
Counselor of mental health.
Yeah.
And you at a halfway house.
Yes, I was in
Wonderful
Beulah.
experience.
Yes.
Wonderful experience. Active in a local union.
I was a member of Local 535 when I was in Progress Foundation. Then I went to the city and county when I worked with the courts and for the Department of Human Services. And that was also Local 535, so I just transitioned into.
What do you love about Bakersfield?
What is not to love about Bakersfield?
Well, that's true, but it's not necessarily people, might more or less think of.
I think that what happens when you get to Bakersfield is that people make you feel welcome.
Okay, the warmth of the
absolutely.
people.
I mean, people complain about the heat, and they people complain about us being a little unsophisticated. They claim. The fact
It's
of the matter-
agricultural. It's
That's
a
right.
large agricultural
Yes. We feed the
state.
we feed the state.
state.
We feed the county. I mean, we feed the world. Actually, it's
Right.
produce from Kern County going almost everywhere in the world. We produce more oil than anybody else in California, and we have great musicians, artists, unknown writers like me. That was a joke. Obviously, it didn't go very far. But anyway,
That's not a joke, is it?
It's actually a pity that so many people leave the county and we cannot retain the talent that is generated here. That's a great thing. And I think that one of the reasons that I'm running for judge for that particular city is because I'm trying to reverse this negative view that people may have of the county. By retaining that judge over there without any challenge.
Let's talk about some things in terms of the some of the judges that have impressed you in your life, aside from your father. But who are some judges that you feel have been great judges here, or great in the? You were in criminal defense, or so. What some of the cases, so that we could get a sense. It's very difficult for people to have a sense of how a person is going to judge. I mean, I know you made the comment that you think that the court system is one that you respect, and that justice can be achieved through that system. So. Is it the court system specifically, or you mean our judicial system overall? I mean,
Listen,
you didn't mention the Constitution. We have a state constitution. We have a federal constitution.
I have, I believe, a unique view of the courts.
Okay.
Because my father was a judge, so I was able to see how things operated over there. And I did 2 years of law school almost. So that gives me a view of the law that I can actually use to compare what we have here in the U.S.
Yes.
So that's one part of that. The second part is I worked actually for the courts in San Francisco. So I saw how they operated there, and I learned a lot. As a clerk, you learn a lot. In fact, at some point, one of the departments I worked when Judge Mix retired, it became a procession of visiting judges. And it was a deputy sheriff, Tommy Thompson, and myself that was, we were running the court. And we, the thing that remained constant was us. and we had this procession of judges coming in and out.
Rotating.
And we were actually able to keep the calendars in that department lower than most of the other departments on that floor for a long time, until they put someone there or I was removed. I don't remember quite well. But that gave me a view of how these things work in the courts in San Francisco. Now, imagine I moved from there and I come here as an attorney. I've been an attorney for 3 years, civil experience.
At that time, you
absolutely.
had been.
I've been working in San Mateo County a little bit, Contra Costa, Alameda, and then I come to Kern County. And I come here and I'm sitting in a courtroom, and I actually went there a week before just to see how he operated, and I was quite impressed in how it works. I saw Judge Feliz at the time was the presiding judge. First judge to yell at me in the county of Kern was Judge Feliz.
Ouch.
Well, if you can't take it, don't step in the kitchen, they say. I actually became quite close to him, and I learned a lot from him. Judge Gilner comes to mind, also retired. Judge Friedman, who has been always very kind and a saint, in my opinion.
What do you think of the idea of controlling your courtroom? This has been an issue.
Well, yes, of course, it's always an issue. I mean,
particularly if there's a case that's got a high-profile case, if the cameras are going to be there. Is that going to be an issue for you, or how?
Well,
You think you can
I
control your courtroom?
Absolutely. I have a great respect for the media. In fact, I worked for a TV station in El Salvador in the 1970s when the cameras were humongous monsters that seemed to be ready to swallow you.
Yes.
So I have a lot of respect for the media. I'm a writer myself, so I have that kinship, I feel. But the courts of law are the courts of law. They're not a circus.
That's right.
And you have to keep control of that because the overall objective remains the same. That is the justice, to do justice, follow the laws, and make sure that the rights of people are protected in the courts of law, the guaranteeing equal access to the courts, and that everybody's actually treated the same in a fair manner. So I understand that there's also the administrative side of the courts. We need to keep cases moving. We cannot, court should not be a quagmire where you go there and you can, and it's like a black hole where you walk in and all hope is gone. No, you have to move cases along. So as a defense attorney, I may at times enjoy the fact that things are getting a little delay for multiple reasons. DAs have the opposite. They want to get this thing moving. So there's a tug of war between defenses and DAs, and the courts are in the middle, but they are the ones responsible for the administration of justice. So I'm fully aware that my role as a judge is going to be different as an attorney, and I hope I'm up for the task. I am not a fool, so I understand that I'm going to have to learn a lot. But I think that where I am professionally as an attorney, given my experience in the courts in
15 years as a public defender.
Actually, 15 years as an attorney. Generally,
okay.
I worked 3 years as
a public defender.
Yes, 3 years as a public defender. I've been on my own for 8 years now.
Okay.
11, and then 3 years I worked for the courts and doing civil stuff. So I have a lot of experience as an attorney, plus the years as a clerk. And then I think that that's also something.
Plus, up and down the state, you've seen it in San Francisco, which is probably a little different than Kern County.
Oh, very different.
Yes.
The only thing that we have in common, other than the names from San Francisco and the courts in Bakersfield, for example, is that we both work in places that are full of asbestos.
Oh, well.
That should keep you happy when you go to sleep.
But in terms of your feeling for the Constitution and that,
isn't that a wonderful document? The basis of what we are. And as I told someone, amateurs shouldn't be tinkering with that. There was someone said, I think it was Al Gore's less famous uncle, who said that the great achievement of the Constitution is that it was created by men that knew that they were not infallible, and they were creating something that you could actually see grow with the nation. And it has. It has happened. I have no illusions that I'm going to go into an appeal court, so my role as protector of the Constitution is much more basic. So, and I hope that I'm up to that task.
Right, but anyone who would want to change it, would that come from the court, or would that come from another branch of the government, in your opinion?
Well, the court should not be meddling with the Constitution.
Okay.
That's not their job. If anybody wants to change the Constitution, there's provisions in how to change that.
Yes, sir.
That's exactly the case, for example, in that unfortunate event that happened here during Prohibition. I mean, if God didn't want us to be drinking, I think that He would not have turned water into wine. Everything in moderation, I'm told. But the way of doing it is you have an amendment process that you have to follow. And if you want to change the Constitution...
Through the legislative
absolutely, and process. The people vote on it too.
Yeah. So Proposition 8, how did you feel about that?
Which one is that?
Proposition 8.
8 or 8?
Proposition 8, which was the one that got changed. I mean, we voted on that twice, and then it was changed.
2008. It wasn't 2008?
Well, the years that the year it changed, I couldn't even tell you myself. It was just a few years ago that they made a decision in at the Ninth Circuit Court. Made
Judge Walker. In fact, we spoke about him before we started this interview.
And that was, I think, it had to do with a case in L.A. and a case in someplace else. But
yeah. Listen, judges are not supposed to be involved in the legislative process. Judges have very limited power, and the power, and that is by this design.
Yes.
Judges are not supposed to be giving their opinions on the law, the legislative process, and we're supposed to stay back and let the good folks, the learned gentlemen and ladies in Sacramento deal with that.
We've got about 20 seconds left. That's such a very good closing thought. Anything you would like to just conclude with?
Democracy is a great thing. We have the ability to change the world. In Fit 34, the race for that judgeship, we have a chance to clean something and to rectify something that is completely wrong. And I put my confidence on the voters of the county of Kern to do the right thing and elect me as a judge.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time to introduce yourself to our area, and all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine.